Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. It is Sunday, September the 8th, 2024, and today we'll be sketching the ears. So I'll just keep calling it the tips on drawing the ears. That's been the theme this week, is tips on drawing different facial features. Okay, so yeah, let's do some sketching. So first I'll talk about drawing the ears from the side view, and then like a front view, and then like a 3/4 view. And I'll start a 5-minute timer, but we'll just take however long because I want to cover all the basics in this video. So to begin with, let's draw a guideline, which should definitely be used to by now if you've been following along. So the basic look, we'll start off with like a kind of like a loose sketch just to get the shapes. So if you do a guideline like this just to determine the height of the ear, it's basically a C shape. And I'm not going to go into like all the technical names. This is maybe called like the helix or something like that, but yeah, I'm not gonna get into all the anatomical names for it. But yeah, this is like the outer rim here, and this will change, and we'll go over that too for different people. Basically, wherever this middle of your guideline here, it'll curl into that, and then this third right here. So if you divide into our usual like thirds, you'll get the lobe, the earlobe. And of course, so this is all like soft tissue, relatively speaking. It's not made of bone, so you'll get a lot of variations on that. So that's like the first shape. Let's do another guideline and do that again. We'll do the same proportions and I'll just eyeball it. And then, so after you do this, there's gonna be, again, this part can look different, but kind of a thin, like, thickness here. Just kind of get that going. And then the other thing is that this goes into the ear, and from here, once you kind of have this look, you can kind of connect this, although it's connected to like the inner part of the ear, the inner shape, but you'll basically get this kind of shape. If that makes sense. So they'll kind of merge into the earlobe. And then now that we kind of have these proportions here, so this is like the halfway mark, and this is like the third, bottom third. The ear hole is right here, and then you'll get the where it attaches to the head, to the side of the head. Again, there's a lot of, it'll fall within these basic proportions, but all ears look different, like slightly different, but this is like the basic proportions. Also, the lighting affects things. So for example, let's I'll draw another one just so you have this part. So just to kind of quickly do that again. So now that you kind of get used to that, so that's 5 minutes. Start another one. So once you kind of get this basic look, these shapes, we can go over some of the shading. So a lot of times you'll almost always get some light on this outer edge. And then with this inner shape, this will always be like stands out the most, that inner shape there. And then where it goes into the ear will be dark, more or less dark. So let's say the light is up here. You'll get, sometimes it'll just be like, this is where the variations come in, because it just depends on like the thickness of the different parts of the ear of the person. But usually there'll be like this shadow. And then a lot of times you'll just get a cast shadow, but it won't be like as dark. And then maybe a little bit of an indicator of this shape right here. Again, this is all different for people. And then like we said, this will, since this goes into the ear canal, that'll be dark. And then just kind of blend it. And then the earlobe will usually pick up some kind of light, again, depending on the shape of the earlobe. And to give it, and it's different for people. It won't be as dark as like the darkest areas. Sometimes you'll have a little bit more form. Again, if the light is up here, you'll get some shading right here, but it probably won't be as much as like this. But yeah, you'll have to do some studies. And then this part will be raised. And that's like the basic look of it. And then you'll get like a shadow on this side. I'll draw the other ear, but we'll use the same lighting and see what, well, actually it'll kind of look the same, huh? We'll see. Let's draw the other side though. Well, now that we did that, we can go over if you want to be more precise. So for example, and we'll draw it in different sizes. So when you set up the way that we did, set up these, like that center line, the ears themselves, and we'll draw it on the head so you'll have a better understanding. It can have variety as far as like the shape, and that's kind of how you can get different ear shapes too. So it'll be something like that. I mean, some are more long, some are more like round, some are more, you know, like squarish. But let's say that you set this up. So by doing this, you can control like the look of the ear a little bit more, but like the proportions are still basically the same, so that if you can find your like the thirds, so usually you can just find like the middle, and then kind of, so for example, like this. Again, like the look of it is different. Some can be more like that. Some could be more of a round. I mean, I guess this is kind of the typical look. So just going off of what we did here, depending on the lighting, you could get more lighting right here and then just kind of suggest. So that's 5 minutes. Like again, it just depends on the depth and the forms of that particular ear. Sometimes, yeah, like it's just suggested, and so this sort of blends because this is raised. You might get like that kind of shading. But if the light is coming here, you'll probably get a shadow here. And yeah, like this goes in, connects, and then this will be dark. Sometimes it looks kind of like that. Ears are one of those things that people don't pay a whole lot of attention to, and as long as it looks generally correct, it's one of those things that you don't notice until it looks wrong. Using the same basic lighting, this one could be, you could have like a smaller earlobe here, but then kind of different shading. So yeah, just look up some different ears, but this will give you a guideline. And this is kind of a basic shading. I guess if, let's say the light is like over here, then you would get more shadow here. Like if you put the light, kind of what we did here, but in the opposite. So this will get lit up, and then just kind of shade that in. I guess the light could be down here, in which case maybe like that. But you'll definitely get shadowing because the forms are covering, but sometimes more of this will get in shadow. I think that's good to get you started. And I mean, I know people are at different levels. For my part, like, I'll sometimes forget things or not pay as much attention as I could to the details, so it's good to go over it. So now that we did the basic side view, let's do the front view. So you can still use the same guidelines as usual. I pretty much almost always have some kind of guideline. So let's pretend that this is on the side of the head. So we're looking the front view of the ear here. So one thing is that the ear is not usually, well, it isn't flat, but again, there's different variations on how it comes out, but it's good to give it a box shape, kind of like this, so that it's like a box, like that. So take from like that side view, this is the helix, or whatever that's called, the outer rim of the ear. So that's 5 minutes. I'll start another one. I believe we're on the 15th minute. So then when that happens, you'll get this, like within this kind of box that we drew, that'll come out, and then this will go kind of like that. It overlaps, and so that's the side of the head right there, and then the earlobe is within this part. So the proportions are basically the same, and that's like the way it looks. And a lot of times that this part where it covers the ear hole is going to be blocked by either like the cheekbone, like the side of the face, or the hair. But this is the basic look of it. And of course, depending on the light, but usually you'll get a highlight on these areas no matter what. And like some on the earlobe here, because those are the areas that stick out the most. And this looks different, so we'll just do like another variation on it here. Like if you were to do, let's say this is the side of the face here, and you decide that this will be the ears. Yeah, it'll be at an angle, and you'll usually want to draw like that outer edge, and then however far this comes out, and then the earlobe. And again, a lot of times it's covered by the cheekbone, the attachment. So it's pretty simple to do both. You could do like if you had this line, so that would be the width of the head. So the basic proportions for the ears, like on the head, is the top of the ear is within, but it can change, and it changes kind of frequently because of the tilt of the head. Like the ears can also help to determine the perspective, but like on a straight view, it's usually going to be within like the brow. And then let's say we decide that the nose is right here, which means that the hairline is about right here. It'll fall within like this little area. So this will fluctuate so that if you have the face and the nose starts to, or the head starts to tilt downward, then the ears will go up accordingly, kind of like that. Because of the perspective. So it's a good way to kind of show, or to show the perspective, and to also like know. So if the ear starts to move upwards, that means the head is starting to tilt down. And then the chin will start to recede more. Kind of like that. So yeah, the ears help with that. And then also they'll look slightly different because most of the time the person's not looking straight ahead, like perfectly. So that, well, and also the lighting. So that, for example, if this is in shadow, then a lot of this ear will sort of be in shadow, but then, so that's another 5 minutes. So this is the 20th minute. But yeah, I'll get to the 3/4 view in this video. But some things to think about as far as like the ear is that some of this will be in shadow, but then it's got areas that will pick up light no matter what, like kind of like this outer thing, the outer edge. And then also keep in mind that usually you'll get reflected light, so that it'll pick up some light that way. And also the material of the ear, like the cartilage and stuff, tends to pick up light kind of easily because it's thin. So it kind of has to look that way. Now, if it's real dramatic, then yeah, maybe this whole side of the face would be covered. But even then, like, if you wanted to show a little bit more subtlety, it would be less dark. And then on the light side here, it'll look a little different. And again, when the head's turning, it'll determine a little, like that's how you, like if it's slightly this way, if it starts to slightly turn one way, then the ear will shift quite a bit, as far as like how you might shade it, like because you'll see a little bit more of this part. But yeah, that just comes from just doing some studies, but this will help you get it set up and also make it up if you have to, like if you're just sketching from imagination. All right. Since we did like a downward, I'll do like if the head is looking up a little bit. So if it starts to tilt upwards a little, again, just move the ears down a little bit more. So you start to see a little bit more of the underside of the nose and the eye sockets, and the ears will kind of move down, so they can help with perspective. The chin starts to round out. Kind of like that. So let's work on some different angles of the ear. Well, let's attach it to the head. So we started doing that here. So for example, if you draw a 3/4, drawing a basic circle here. If you were to divide this, so just draw a side to that circle there. So create like a plane right here. So if you divide that, this will be about where the ear goes. And again, depending on the shape of it, but it will be like the way we explained on that side view there, it'll be like you have to show that the outer edge there, kind of like that. So it'll fit right there, and you have to show a little bit of that like back of the head, and then the neck will come out a little bit behind it. And then I'll talk about like this little area. So the ear, like it's not flat on the head. That's another 5 minutes. I'll start another one. So let's zoom in this area here. So to zoom in on it, let's just draw a guideline right here, and then kind of fit. Well, let's just draw that box, kind of like this. So this is the ear right here. So from here, so yeah, it's not flat. There's, it's kind of coming off of the head, and then, but the proportions are still the same. So like where it goes into the ear is still about like half, and then the earlobe would still be about right here, except that now you also have that inner part that's coming out, but not as much as like you'll still see this top part of the ear like that. It won't come out as much. Again, depends on the shape of the ear. It won't, like this won't come out as much as like the side view. It might be more of a rounded shape, like closer to profile. Kind of like that. And then I wanted to go over like this part. So here it actually will catch some light. It comes out, and then this would be, let me draw like a hairline here. Let's pretend that that's the hair. Like that. So that you can kind of like leave this to show like it's catching some light. And then here's the jaw. So it's kind of how that looks. So yeah, just kind of keep in mind the this little flap right there. So now that we did this view, like sometimes the earlobes will have like it also has a form right here, but you just kind of have to study. Like from the back, that might be kind of a good one to sort of wrap this up, or like at an angle. It could be good to, like let's say you draw sort of like a back view here. See that? So the ears, you're gonna see where it actually comes off of the, like once you just do the proportions here, like you'll see a little bit of like where it's coming off of the head. And that's why you can kind of see it on this side, because it's not exactly flat. So that's another 5 minutes. I'll start to wrap up this video. But yeah, hopefully like that makes sense right here. I can zoom in a little bit more so that if you were to just draw the way it looks, it's kind of like this. Like that's the side of the head. But a lot of this is going to be covered by the head, basically. And again, the ear is like one of those things where you don't have to go crazy on the details, just as long as the proportions and the highlights look pretty good. Like you can be pretty simple with it. So yeah, a lot of this you will usually be in some kind of shadow or covered by the hair. I usually don't draw like this angle right here, but it's kind of good to know like where to indicate it. So yeah, here's the side view, front view, sort of at different angles, like a 3/4 view and how it fits onto the head. From like a kind of a back view. Another thing would be like if it were a back view, like this. There's an angle to it, so maybe it kind of looks like that. That might be the difference. Like it looks slightly different from the back. You can see sort of the difference there. But yeah, this is something to give you some tips. But yeah, this week we pretty much covered most of the facial features. We haven't done like the hair. I'll work that into some future videos. But yeah, before I sign off, I want to thank you for supporting the channel and for joining me today, and have a great Sunday, and I'll see you next week. Until next time, keep on sketching.